Hi, my name is Jordan. I am a special education teacher from the UK. I share my passion for everything communication, sensory regulation, and fun lesson ideas for my classroom of disabled pupils aged 4 to 11. Each week, I am joined by experts in the field, answering your questions and sharing our knowledge and experience working alongside our beautiful young people. Let's get started. First of all, a message about our sponsor. Today's sponsor is Octopus Energy. I've recently signed up and have been totally won over by their mega low rates, 15p per kilowatt buyback scheme for any solar power we aren't using. In just a few minutes, I put in all my details and they do the switch from your current provider for you. It could not be simpler. Don't take it from me though, over 6 million homes have made the sustainable switch. When you sign up today using my code, we both get £50. It keeps me creating this free content for you guys and you get cheaper energy. Double win. Head to the link in the description below to make the switch today. Now to the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sensory Classroom podcast. My name is Jordan, and today I am joined by somebody that I think lots of you follow and know of. It's Sarah Hall from Willow's Sensory. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
I really wanted you on because I've been following you for some time now, maybe 5 years.
Wow,
And I
thank you.
really loved everything you were doing through the pandemic, all your kind of sensory story ideas. You always seem to find the best ideas on the internet. I don't know how you do it, but I get lots and lots of ideas from everything you share on Facebook and social media in general, really. Where do you get your ideas from? Can we start there?
Okay, quite often they come from the people that I'm working with. So if someone likes something like a microfiber mitt, then that can become an alien or a piece of grass or anything, and some coral under the sea. So it tends to come from them. One of my favorite examples I use is the lady who liked heavy things. So I filled a Pringles tube up with compost and stones and things, and then she fancied the dentist, and he had a colour advert in the free paper, so I cut that out and stuck it on the outside.
Anything to motivate.
So it's not, it's not the sort of thing anyone else will ever make, but it's quite often someone does something and sort of like you get ideas. Obviously now with social media, it's I do spend a lot of time sort of like getting ideas. So is it Inclusion Unlimited did Pringle tube painting? So you put a piece of paper in the Pringle tube, and then the person shakes, and then you take it out, and they've made a picture by themselves. So I've got a man who loves to shake. So in the sensory room, first of all, we played with like the neon balls. Then we put neon paint in them. Then we put them in the Pringle tube, and I'd put like an outline, a black card with a white outline of a zigzag Christmas tree. So when we took it out, he'd made a Christmas card. So
fantastic, and completely independently as
yeah.
well.
So there's loads of ideas online, and I get ideas. I get ideas everywhere, really. I think I do probably have quite a sort of sensory sort of focus. I could go in almost any shop and B&Q, and it'd be like gutter in for rolling things down and sandpaper for kinesthetic.
It's really hard
having
to get
sensory
rid of
eyes.
Yeah, it's really hard to get rid of anything. I'm going around the boot sales and looking on Facebook Marketplace and all these kind of things. And yeah, you're exactly right. I can see opportunities for learning in everything.
Absolutely.
It's not great for my loft.
No, my husband is very tolerant. I do have a lot of stuff.
So you mentioned the people you work with. I suppose, are you right describing them a little bit without, giving, obviously without saying who they are, but you're right explaining a little bit about who it is you work with predominantly?
Yeah. So I did about a dozen years in special school, and then I set up my business 21 years ago, and so it's open to anybody. So babies to old people, absolutely anybody and everybody. So I have a range of people come to me, predominantly with PMLD.
And is that funded by parents or is that kind of
Yeah,
in schools? Yeah.
I mean, I have been into schools to do things like sensory days, or play schemes and things, which I just want to say, which reminds me how hard a job it is. And a big shout out to everybody out there that's doing it. I mean, obviously, this is my passion and I think it's great, great fun, but I also do appreciate how hard it is. It's a lot easier for me, sort of like I do a sensory story, with one lady who's in a wheelchair, and I line up all my props in order that I'm going to use them. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that wouldn't happen in a class. They'd be
It's
gone.
it's funny, isn't it, when people ask advice and then you have to remind yourself like what the situation is that they're using it in. Is it an early years classroom where they've got 30 mainstream children and maybe 2, 3 SEND children? What is the setting? I suppose then that would make our advice a little bit more
Very much
realistic.
so. Yeah. I mean, we've just done some teacher training days on children that aren't accessing national curriculum but are in mainstream. We've done this is with Reach Out ASC up in Preston, and we've been given ideas of activities they can do, sort of using the equal semi-formal curriculum. But then after that, people were asking, could they have one about sort of just the SEN kids in mainstream? So hopefully we're going to do a course on that as well now.
It's so needed. I don't know any mainstream primary schools that aren't calling out for this support, as there are less special education schools, as there is more need. I'm in Cornwall and we have 2 special education schools in the whole of the county. And we are crying out for spaces, and every single mainstream school in our county is an SEN school. It just is. We've got so much need in every school, in every class. Every teacher is a SEND teacher, whether they've trained in it or not, and they're just crying out for any support, and they want to do what's best for the children. But they
Mm,
just don't know what inclusion looks like, and they're scared to get it wrong. They're fearful that they're not getting it right, and I think having that kind of hands-on course training approach might give them the confidence they need to know how to do it, and that
yeah.
they're probably doing it, right, and how to access the curriculum in their own way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot out there to help with lots of the like formalities of things and stuff, but I haven't seen much out there to say, here's what you could be teaching, here's how you could be teaching it, here's a load of activities and ideas, here's some sensory songs, some sensory stories, here's some stuff that you could be doing, some practical hands-on activities that we can share, sort of. So in one of the sessions that we did, I think I put out about 90 sort of like activities for people to go around and have a look, and that was just in one of the sessions.
Wow.
I do tend to get carried away, whatever whatever I'm doing,
No,
I do
that's
tend to get
amazing
carried
though,
away.
because that's, gosh, 90 ideas. That's months of ideas for a teaching
Yeah.
assistant or a teacher, isn't it?
I did a year of ideas as well that I just pegged up on the entrance. But I'm talking at the Send in Early Years conference next month. Yeah, so again, sort of like, wanting to help people in mainstream, hopefully that'll be a way in there to, sort of like tell people about some of the resources that are out there that can help them.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, that's all right. And it doesn't have to be expensive either, does it? What are your kind of go-to cheap resources that always seem to work really well?
A resource, my
Hmm.
favourite resource that I always talk about is the A4 envelopes that you get from Amazon.
Yeah.
So what I do with those is I'll get some A4 label paper and print out a sticker, usually something related to flying or wind or something like that. So like a picture of an owl, and then you stick it onto the paper and you've immediately got a skin sensation flapper. And what I've started doing now is I used to seal them, but I've started now popping in either the poem inside or sticking the poem on the back, and then adding sometimes some extra props. So there was a chick one, so I put in some fluorescent feathers and a UV torch inside the envelope. So you got a little prop there as well as your as my thing. So because
Um,
I've always in my sensory room, there's always been a piece of cardboard just on the shelf.
yeah.
Just sort of. And again, I found that out. I'd taken out a kid from my class years and years and years ago, and he was struggling to wait in a queue, so we were just like wafting him, and he thought that was really fun. So again, sort of like the ideas have come from them.
I love that it comes from them as well. I think that's so important. It means it's so much more meaningful, and there are lots of children that would then like that experience, so then they would like that resource.
Yeah.
I feel like it has to come from them to make it meaningful, doesn't it?
Another thing that I always Twitter on about is waft. So, because of my own mental health issues, I have a massage every week, and my massage therapist is also a massage tutor. So the school saved me all their tubes. So with a massage tube, I cover it. I used to paint them, but I found it easier to cover them in duct tape. So I cover them in duct tape, and then you tie on something. So it could be just like one big piece of oil. So it's like those dancing fans, or the light up autumn lights, or some light up tinsel, or some, some chiffon scarves, or even sort of a load of crepe, in a row. And I call these wafters, and they are usually very, very useful. And Alison,
Amazing.
my friend Alison, who works at Reach Out AAC, she made one recently with pipe lagging.
Oh,
So with the pipe lagging, another thing about pipe lagging, you can use it to put to your mouth and your ear, and it does amplification. The same as whirlies, whirlies that you spin round and
yeah.
round. They also do that.
Yeah,
So another thing
cool.
I've used pipe lagging for is to put. We did a Teletubby story with Dipsy's hat that flies away. So I stuck Dipsy's hat on the end, and then it could fly all the way around all the pupils in the class.
I love that. I suppose about that, if you're doing the story to more than one person, would you have that many resources, or would you kind of share it around the group? How would you navigate that?
I think it depends, because a lot of things are uh, like I really, really love those laser torches that are really, really big. So you only need one of them because everyone can access that. A wafter, you can go around one at a time, so but then you might have something that you want to be more hands-on, like if you've got some snow or something, and it could be some instant mash, then you could have a little tray each, and they've all got some instant mash. So I would just be flexible, really.
Depending on what it is.
It depends on the prop, it depends on the kids, people, so yeah,
When
there's
you're
no hard and fast rules.
Yeah, I suppose it has to be that way, doesn't it? Learners don't follow the rules, so why should we? I like that. What was I going to say? Yeah, setting up the space. Do you like and setting up an actual sensory experience? Do you try and yes, you're thinking about your pupils, but are you also thinking about trying to reach all of their senses, or are you not really thinking as much as that? Are you thinking of like I need to make, I don't know, a frog story. So then you're thinking about what would make a really good frog, a really good pond, a really good tadpole. Or are you thinking, actually, we need some movement, we need some sound, we need some smell? What is the balance of all of those kind of thoughts
Yeah,
when you're creating it?
that's a bit like what comes first, the words or the music.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's just interchangeable. I think sometimes you can see something like a frog jelly mold and think, oh, that'd be really cool. And then you could do like, as a teacher, when I was in a class, I remember buying 5 of those pop-up frog umbrellas because as a teacher, it appeals to have the same. But now I think it's far more useful to have 5 different frogs. And I've got a great big kind of bin bag of all different frogs just to demonstrate on my music course all the different ways that you can do 5 frogs, with shower caps and
Love it.
noisy ones and jelly ones and all sorts. And that way you can know in your class who's likes what, if someone really likes the tactile exploration, or if someone would like find the noisy one funny, and then you could give them out to whoever, or you can all have a go at everything, as I say,
Yeah.
it's whatever.
I like that. Variety is key, isn't it? Because otherwise, if they can't tell us what they like, then it's really important for them to have variety and offer variety so that we can see what really resonates with them.
Yeah, I would say with our PMLD people, choice is absolutely paramount as much as possible throughout the day. Whether it's, I've got one man who I ask his carers to give him 2 deodorants to choose from, one we know he likes and one he doesn't. It's empowering. It means you've got some control over your environment. Conversely, we've got some of our people who don't like making decisions, and we've got to bear that in mind as well. You don't want to put anyone under any sort of like stress or pressure.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
mentioned classes, but as I say, I tend to work one to one now, so it's an awful lot easier.
Oh, it's just a luxury, isn't it, to be able to
My
work one to one because
goodness.
it can be so bespoke to that individual person.
Yeah. Well, having said that, one man that's been coming to me for many, many years, almost when I started, Solihull Library let me do a session there for adults with PMLD. So he did come with his friend. So that was really, really lovely.
That is really lovely, and I love that you've got that really strong relationship, can't you? If you're seeing them over years and years and years, you probably know his sensory system just as well as anyone that works with him.
Yeah, and his history as well. So obviously, in our world, especially with the adults, people come and go out their lives constantly. Whether it's passing away or if it's just changing jobs. People just sort of like come and go. So quite often we'll have a people come and people go song, and I can mention the names that from the past because I've been there.
That's really lovely. We spoke about bereavement and loss with PMLD before, actually, because, yeah, like you say, even if it's not them passing away, often there is lots of loss through staff members or friends just moving on and change, and that maybe not isn't really explained properly or understood.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of loss and bereavement. How would you tackle those kind of tricky subject matters with people you work with?
um in the same way that I tackle everything with music and with sensory resources and sensory props and things like story massage. So I do have a pack on bereavement for £10 that people can buy, which includes um well, lots of different people you can contact if need be, and then hands-on stuff that I've done. So I did a session with one man who'd lost his mum and dad. So I've put all the activities in that we did. The man I've just mentioned, he did have someone living with him who died. So we did sensory sessions on that. Things like the man that died liked motorbikes. So this man likes to shake. So I made him a sensory bottle so he could shake the motorbike thing. I used to do a thing with the man that died, poem about Harley Davidsons, and we used to waft this flag. So we put his aftershave on that in the session for the other man. Because I think it's, music and smell, because they bypass the hypothalamus and go straight to the limbic system. Our sort of feeling, our emotion, our memory can take you straight back.
Yeah.
And oh, actually, I've got another young lady at the minute, and I found a perfume bottle in a pet shop. So I've put her nanny's perfume. I bought a sample of nanny's perfume, and we put nanny's perfume on that, and I wrote her a story massage and a call and response story, and we do a session about her nanny.
Beautiful.
But it's not always, sad. I think people are
Yeah.
scared of the whole bereavement thing. But, doing these sessions with all three of these people, we've had lovely times as well, because we're having nice, happy memories or having fun. One man, do you remember when you used to go to Skegness and you'd play with a little coin toy where you put the coins in and the coins come down? And yeah, so there are some sort of like, it, I don't know. And I think as well, it's really important that people buy it now, not when somebody dies, because when somebody dies, it's horrendous. You're so overwhelmed and you're so upset. And because I'm this obsessive person, first of all, I wrote a thing on bereavement for creative education. And since then, I've just added to it and adding to it and adding to it. So it's enormous. It's really overwhelming, and you can't cope with that when you're grieving, and it's harder to do things like make decisions. But I've put things in there like art and craft ideas that schools can do. There's funeral ideas, memorial ideas. My godson's funeral was kind of couldn't have been better, in the thought and the effort. We'd got like Teletubbies and Rosie and Jim painted on his coffin, and one of his mums read The Hungry Caterpillar, and it was just beautiful, and a slideshow, lovely, lovely ideas. One of my kids from my class, when he died, we had the school choir come and sing, which
Wow.
was just it was hilarious because one of them was like a pub singer. But it was, it there's lots of lovely ideas that sort of you don't want to be googling when you're
No.
grieving.
And I can attest to that firsthand. We lost a people last year and we weren't prepared. We weren't ready. And it was a beautiful mess, but trying to navigate that with a class and support your team and support the pupils and the parents. You're so close with the parents, aren't you, in special education? Kind of trying to support everybody whilst trying to also manage ourselves and find suitable and appropriate things to do was just an absolute minefield. So if we'd have already been doing it, if we already had the resource, knew the resource, already practicing some of those things, like we said before, it doesn't have to be somebody passing away. There's lots of loss. So there's no reason why you couldn't do regular activities on loss, on
Yeah.
staff members that have moved on, friends
Yeah.
that have are year six and they've gone to a new school, all of those kind of things, and practice that because then if and when it does happen, and
Mm.
unfortunately it is really common in our field
Mm.
of work that we would sadly lose some
Yeah.
people that we
But
work
it's one
with.
reason why you have class pets,
Yeah,
so that they
yeah, you
experience some
do.
loss.
Yeah. Yeah, because we all
And
experience loss in our lives, don't we?
yeah.
I think it's too easy to assume that our pupils aren't aware and don't
Mm.
feel the loss, even on a sensory level, even if it is on a sensory level, they
Mm.
will miss the sounds that are now not there or the smells that now aren't there.
And the love, I think they miss the love.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've noticed that with my learners that, are Gestalt language processors, so do have some phrases and some words, they were able to say that they missed this pupil, which
Yeah.
told us that then all of them would. That was our little cue of, no, if the ones that are speaking about him, then it means that the ones that aren't
Yeah.
speaking are thinking about him.
Yeah, and a healthy way is to talk, isn't it? To, talk in therapy and stuff. So, for our non-verbal kids, we would just do however we communicate with them normally. So, like, I've written story message for, losing granddad, losing a pet, breaking up with somebody,
Right,
all
right.
sorts, there's all sorts of loss, sort
Even
of,
moving house,
yeah,
breaking a favorite toy, like
yes, yeah,
it's all lost, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
we used the book Rabbitiness, I don't know if
Oh,
you
yeah.
know it.
Oh, I've also put together a huge, huge book list. Every time someone comments on social media, "Oh, we use this one," I'm like, "Well, add that to the list." So, yes,
Yeah,
huge, huge
Rabbitiness is
list.
so perfect for us. He was particularly loved Bing. It's obviously all about rabbits, and this story is beautiful, all about loss, isn't it? And how to share their legacy through music and color. And it was so perfect. So every year now we will have a Rabbitiness day, and to remember our friend particularly. Obviously, remember him every day, but yeah, to
Yeah.
remember him
You can
particularly.
also do things like, autobiography umbrellas and autobiography sensory
I
bags and
like
stuff.
that.
And so you're doing that, we're finding all about ourselves and all about me while we're living.
Yeah.
But, when someone passes, they're really useful because you've got in a bag an all about me that's, their favorite things. This is the music I like. This is the smell I like. This is one of my favorite toys. I really love this show.
I really like that. And it's all created by them.
It's their choices. Yeah, their preferences.
I
But I
love
mean, you could
that.
do it for anything. I did a sensory umbrella for a dog one. So I've got an umbrella that's just got like paws on and then hanging off like certain toys or bits of blankets or bits of smells and stuff. And then it's a focal point to talk about the things as well, isn't it? Or remember he used to like playing with this toy, or here's his little name tag. How cute's that? And it gives you a little
Absolutely.
something to, you know, grieve together over.
Yeah, and
Well, like we would with concrete props and sensory resources, 24/7.
yeah, absolutely. So why not do it with everything? Any
Yeah,
kind of tricky topic.
yeah,
Can it work for all ages and stages? Thinking about age appropriateness,
yeah,
person
absolutely.
appropriateness. Can we
Yes,
can we talk about that for a second?
of course. Yes.
Because I heard you talk about, a Teletubby story and things, and you
Yeah.
know, I'm sure you can guess what I think about that. But I'd love to hear your views on age
We
appropriateness.
have a day centre by us, and I asked them about the Teletubby thing, and they said if my godson had turned up with a Teletubby, they would take it off him and give him a more appropriate soft toy, which to me is absolutely ridiculous. It would mean absolutely nothing to him. He was Teletubby obsessed. He could choose an episode of Teletubbies that he wanted to watch. I don't know, a Minecraft figure or whatever it'd be these days, it would be completely irrelevant and mean absolutely nothing to him. And I think it's cruel. I think
Yeah, and I know lots of adults that are really into Disney
absolutely Disney seems
or
to be an
Harry
acceptable one.
Potter
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
whatever. Like there are lots of things that all of us like
Yeah,
because they just
absolutely.
feel nice, they feel good, they feel nostalgic, they bring us joy.
Yeah,
Who's to put a number to that? Like I do think it's
absolutely.
genuinely bizarre.
Simply Sensory says stage, not age,
Yes.
and Flo Longhorn says person appropriate.
Yes.
Because it's really, really, you might have someone, at a cognitive level that's quite low, but then they might, sort of, I don't know, have I don't know, a relationship with someone, a boyfriend, girlfriend type relationship, you can't sort of
Right.
say they're at a particular it's very hard to say that someone's at a particular sort of level because there's so many different sort of facets to our sort of personality, aren't there? But, I think if you are at that level, it's really important that whatever you find comforting, whatever makes you feel safe, is you're allowed to have, and it should be utilized to the absolute max. If anybody anywhere in any school has got any kind of interest or whatever, you would just use it, not as a reward, but use it as
Yeah.
part
Like
of your what
inspiration.
you're doing, sort of like if you're counting some I've just written this morning actually. If you're counting something, you might as well be counting Paw Patrol.
Hmm.
Compare that to a worksheet. If you've got something right in front of you that's tangible and real, you can touch it, you can hold it, and it's your favorite characters, you need to use what's of interest and what's motivating to encourage people to learn and encourage them to remember. And I've just done sensory drama actually at a care home for some ladies with dementia. We did Strictly Come Dancing, and it was superb. They absolutely loved it. They were playing with all the light up stuff and fiddling with the sand, and we'd got big disco balloon that we were playing with, and instruments and fluorescent stuff. We were all dancing to all these different we did story massage that as well as
Love
sensory
that.
props. But yeah,
I
it was
suppose
it was superb.
that's another good point, isn't it? Like be inspired by what they're really interested in, and obviously don't not do that, but also maybe try and broaden their interest. Maybe they're into Strictly Come Dancing, well, maybe they'll also be into different types of music and different types of dancing and different types of fabrics, and kind of expand off of that too. Like say if they're into Paw Patrol, well, maybe they'll like other type of animal based cartoons or other.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the colors, maybe it's the big eyes, maybe it's that they're animal based. Explore and experiment with that too, with no, it's not bad if they don't, like, whatever,
yes,
but it's
yeah.
good to kind of just experiment and
It's offering stuff, isn't it? It's
yeah,
offering invitations to
yeah,
new experiences and stuff. I remember the first time I heard about galaxies when I was a teacher, when I first started teaching, and I thought that's a ridiculous thing to do with PMLD. They should be learning about themselves, about their bodies, about their own likes and preferences. But then I did a galaxies session and I completely and utterly 180 degrees turn around. I'm completely and utterly converted, because doing sensory dramas like that, as you say, you can include things that people like because you know them, but you can also introduce a whole new load of stuff that you might not. I mean, who knew that someone was going to like, sort of like I don't know, a ball with jingles in, if we hadn't had that for a planet, you
yeah.
know, because you
And
might
also,
not
I
have
always
done
worry, I
that.
don't know if you agree, but my fear as a special education teacher is always that I underestimated the understanding of the learners in my class. Have they got PMLD or have they got PMBL? So profound barriers to learning. Maybe they do understand scientific concepts. Maybe they do understand the concept of a galaxy better than I do. Maybe, but they just can't show or tell us because they're physically disabled in multiple and profound ways. So yeah, I kind of like to try and mix it up. I like to offer like a sensory based so that everybody that learns through the sensory system has something like
Yeah,
that. But then, yeah, why not use words like bioluminescence and, Joanna Grace does it beautifully with her How to Create a
the
Star
star one.
sensory
Yeah,
story. And why not do that? Because, my learners might understand the concept. Who's to say they
yeah,
won't? And then if they don't, then we've just got a really cool sensory based story. I feel like
yeah,
then I can go home and sleep well at night knowing that,
yeah,
whatever they do know, I've kind of captured them.
yeah. I think Jonathan Bryan as well also sort of like showed us how effective the low tech eye gaze can be. So, sort of like, and then you can assess someone's comprehension.
Would that be with like an e-tram board
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah.
We had I volunteer at Camp Jojo. I should give them a shout out, shouldn't
Yeah,
I?
do.
So Camp Jojo is a camp for children with complex needs who wouldn't ordinarily go camping. So, they might have oxygen or be in wheelchairs or whatever. So I volunteer at that every year. So I've done one camp so far. I've got another two camps to go. And I can't remember why I was telling you that. What was I
For
saying about Camp Jojo?
we were doing about e-tram
Oh yeah, what
things.
there was a lad when we are at Camp Jojo, we do Camp Jojo's Got Talent, and so kids get up, and we had one kid come up and tell us why 4G was better than 5G, or someone was learning to walk on his Zimmer, so he did that with loads of bubbles and a car wash song, whatever, we just celebrate whatever they want to celebrate really. And we had um a kid there, and one of the incredible volunteers. The volunteers are amazing. They come from all over. And she made him one of these boards, and he could just blink. And he planned the whole of his Camp JoJo's Got Talent down to one of this man, one of the original founders of Camp JoJo, her dad, who's never got up to do Camp JoJo's Got Talent, doesn't like it. He got him wearing a baseball cap backwards. He was very specific. Just by blinking, he got all these instruments and made him get up and do the dance to this rap song.
So was it like yes, no,
Yeah.
you
Well, no,
know, that kind of
letters. It was
thing? Oh, it's
letters for him.
letters.
But yeah, but
Wow.
I think, you would start yes, no,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? And then same as you would with like a
I
AAC or
just think,
anything.
imagine if they were never shown that AAC. Imagine if they were never shown that E-tran. You know, like we would just never know. And then no wonder there's such high poor mental health within the disabled community. You know?
Yeah, I think I'm also very wary the other way. I'm very see both sides of everything. I also feel really strongly because Jonathan Bryan wrote about sort of, how we were just doing nursery rhymes and sensory and special ed. And it's not just, if that's where our PMLD kids are at, that is what we need to do. And we need to love them and appreciate them and accept them for where they are and what they're doing and how they, just for themselves, to be themselves, and if that's what they need, that is absolutely fine. And that's important too. We have to love them for who they are.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
do feel like really strongly about that as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also feel equally strongly, which is such a juxtaposition, that sometimes we are most comfortable there. Sometimes we're most comfortable doing we're going on a bear hunt story. Sometimes we're more comfortable just doing the nursery rhymes that we know rather than learning new ones. So I think it's also good to question, is it the children that want this? Or is it the team that are just a bit stuck and stagnant and aren't
Absolutely.
researching? So it's just as a teacher or as the leader or manager of
Yeah,
your own thing, it's always good to just question, why are we doing this the same every time? Is it to ease their anxiety?
absolutely.
Is it because they want to? Or
Yeah.
is it just because we're a little bit stuck?
Absolutely, yeah. Penny Lacey was absolutely instrumental in drumming into me, we must be reflective teachers. So all the time just thinking about, what you're doing and why you're doing it and stuff. And I know somebody with a child with PMLD who sort of claims he's into 80s music and gets to meet all the 80s pop stars, and the kid isn't into his music. But then on the other hand, I don't know if you follow Hugh on social media. Hugh's mom is into 80s stuff, and Hugh has grown up and he now likes heavy metal. But that's fantastic
That
because
is
she's
fantastic.
listening to what he really wants and what he really likes and respecting his wishes.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you didn't have the opportunity to listen to all types of music, then you wouldn't know that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to, yeah, it's all trial and error, isn't it, really?
I love sensory massage stories for that, actually. That kind of and that tack pack kind of style, like because it gives you an opportunity to hear a range of sounds, a range of music, and then you can see how your learners are reacting to that. One of our learners loves classical music, and we wouldn't know that if we didn't explore that
Yeah.
side of things or
One
pop
of my
music.
clients is so musically bent, but I sing my hello song. He has because I'm also a complementary therapist as well as a teacher, so I go to this man with PMLD going this evening actually, and he has full body aromatherapy massage, and as soon as I get that, I sing my hello song as fast as I possibly can because I know I'm tone deaf and he doesn't like my singing.
Do you know what? I've had a few students that do that, that really just don't want me to sing. Like,
Yeah,
make it very obvious that they do not want me to sing. It's just the CD. They don't want my voice. And I'm like, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I've
yeah.
seen that.
But he loves all sorts, from opera to musicals to Disney, all sorts, music that's in the charts, soul music. He's got a massive range, and that's because he's been, um, you know, exposed to it.
If you were working with somebody that seems very, you're pulling out all the stops, you've got your best things, you've got your best music, sound, action, everything, and they seem really uninterested, what would you do?
Okay, so the first thing, if anyone wants to make a booking, because as I say, most of the people I work with are non-verbal, so I would be talking to people who know them, any family members or carers or whatever, to see what they like, what they dislike. Even in my massage and reflexology forms, it's like a what do you like, what do you dislike, what are your triggers, what are your glimmers, so yeah, so that's where I would start. And with anybody and everybody in my world, probably intensive interaction. is just absolutely
Magic.
a really simple concept that's hugely powerful.
Yeah. And really does build bonds, relationships, gets you into their, you know, world and sees the world how they see it. And you can really find what they enjoy with their stims and what they enjoy with their sounds. And actually, ultimately, they are the leader. So they are showing you what they're an expert in. And it's sometimes really difficult. And it reminds you that, they are experts at things too. And it's not all about them meeting us where we're at.
Mm.
It's about us meeting them where they're at. And yeah, you're right. It's such a beautifully simple concept. You don't need any resources. All you just need is you and them.
Yeah, well, there's the Hanging Out program. Are you familiar with that?
I've only
Yeah.
just heard about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have sent that to a care home
Yeah,
recently.
it's new on me. I haven't tested it out yet, but that's gonna be my
It's a yeah,
challenge for this
lovely,
year.
lovely, lovely concept.
Do you want to explain a little
It's
bit about it?
it's from a lady who in I think she's in Australia, and she's a speech therapist, and it really worried her things like, sort of like they might walk past someone in a care home and say hello, and by the time our kids had responded with the processing time and then, and then formulating the speech, that person's long gone. They've just whizzed past because they're busy. So she recommends that we have 10 minutes just quality time, just 10 minutes just sitting with someone and just being with them and being led by them, and just having that really important just being
Yeah, every
together.
day,
Yeah.
10 minutes every day.
Yeah, it's lovely,
Yeah.
and I do a session over Zoom, and even then sort of like I'll pause and we'll say, let's just have like whatever 3 minutes, 5 minutes. And if he's in a chatty mood, it flies by. But sometimes, you don't speak, and that 3 minutes seems really long. I saw a lady on YouTube once, 10 minutes she waited for the man she was working with to initiate and make a sound. 10 minutes. It's
Which
incredible.
is long when, say, if you're being paid by the parents and they're watching and they're thinking, hang on.
Yeah.
But it comes with some confidence, doesn't it, to wait that long? And I feel the same with intensive interaction as well. You've got to be confident to just wait. Like,
Yeah.
don't force anything, don't make anything happen, don't come with an agenda. Just wait. And it's harder than
Yes,
it
it is.
seems,
It is, yeah.
but so much more rewarding if you do wait.
Yeah, 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 lovely. And there's also, sort of physical interaction and musical interaction as well. They're all approaches that I would embrace.
Yes, definitely. So get the team around the child, talking about what that motivates them, what they enjoy, and work off of that as a starting point. And then, yeah, ultimately intensive interaction. So they kind of maybe trust you a little bit more and you can learn a little bit more about what they enjoy doing and their language, as it
Yeah,
were.
yeah,
How would you get your team or wider school or parents on board with things that you're wanting to do with the learners? Because ultimately, if you're going in and out, that's a great session. You're having a fantastic session, but then ultimately, it'd be even better if they were doing it every day. So, yeah, how do you
yes.
get those on board?
I do have a sensory course, which is a day course. So we spend a lot of the morning thinking about why we're doing this and why we're using senses, and then in the afternoon we do loads of activities like sensory pass the parcel, sensory umbrellas, sensory mats, sensory drama, sensory stories, sensory
Sounds
songs.
incredible.
So it's a whole day. A head teacher from one school saw somebody doing something after my course and said, "Oh, is that one of Sarah's ideas?" And she said, "Oh, no, it's mine." And that is what I want. I want to empower people to go and do their own sensory stories, their own, whatever sensory songs. Story massage is a classic one, I think, at the moment. Lots of people sort of like join in when someone leads a story massage session, where to me it can be used in so many different ways. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, sort of like for families and siblings to do, or to do just like if as you're chatting, it doesn't have to be a story. It could just be, a conversation that you're doing, or a nursery rhyme. It can be used in lots of different ways and at lots of different times and lots of different people, rather than just like joining in when the teacher does a story
Right.
massage
And I suppose
session.
having that initial structure helps helps build confidence to know what to do and to get them doing that. And then hopefully the
Yeah.
idea is then that they'd feel comfortable enough to then leave the structure a little bit and be led by them. But sometimes it's nice
Yeah.
to have some kind of massage story or sensory story as a bit of structure, as a bit of cushioning and a buffer, really, for our benefit, not for theirs.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think it's a case of training both for any settings, any schools, any parents. At Camp Jojo, the camp that I've just done, I sat doing story massage on a mum, and the husband sat in front of her on the floor as we talked about lots of different ways that they could use it when they got home. So, and again, if you any kind of training for people, I would make sure it's very, very sort of prop heavy. I went to one school and didn't take a single slideshow. I'm not a fan I say I'm not a fan of slideshows. Um, it
Yeah.
depends where and when and
Get
what
the
you're
stuff
doing.
out and get working
Get
rather
the
than talking
Yes,
about it. Let's just do it.
so that they can get the appreciation of the fact that, you know, when we are using our senses, if you use your senses, you learn better, you remember better. And if you're actually doing that with them, I like to demonstrate that so that they can see that in action. you know, I like to, I wrote a call and a response about call and response. I've written a story massage about story massage.
Love
So,
that.
so it's all very sort of like, here's a demonstration with a little bit of information. But yeah, people need to know why they're doing what they're doing as well.
Yes, because then that gives it longevity then, doesn't it? And also, when a senior leadership team comes in and questions, why are you just waiting when
Yeah,
they're on the other side of the room? Why are you just sitting watching them or sitting
yeah,
not even looking at them in
yeah,
silence for 10 minutes? Why are you doing
yeah,
that? How is that useful? You can then
yeah,
explain to them, wow, well, I'm here, I'm ready to receive when they're willing to give. You can say we're doing intensive direction or we're doing whatever it
yeah,
is. We're just doing hanging out and this is the space he needs in order to accept that. Whatever it is. But if you know
yeah, to
your
justify it.
why, yeah, then you can justify it. And then I think I'm guaranteed they'll say, "Oh, okay," and then walk away. But if you don't know your why, then that's going to be really difficult to then justify. And unfortunately, you often do need to, and especially in schools, justify
Yeah.
the time spent doing those things.
We had a head, and he said we had to put how much time we were like in the bathroom with our kids, for how much time
Yeah.
on all the different subjects and including the bathroom. But obviously I was in nursery at the time, so we were in the bathroom 90% of the time. And we said what percent we were, and he was like, "Can you make it any less?" And I'm like, "No." And he said, "Right, then we'll justify that to Ofsted when they come."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, gosh, so much is easily done. So much learning is done in the bathroom, I think.
Yeah,
It is so much consent, choices, communication. It's so intimate. You have to give time. Somebody that we had on, I think a couple of weeks ago, works with PMLD teacher, and she said again, it's a crazy amount of time spent in the bathroom.
yeah,
We have one lay on bed, one hoist. Somebody's always in there.
yeah,
But she said, I really don't want to rush it because it's so intimate and I really want to have that offer that opportunity of space, time, processing time, consent, choices, narration of what
yeah.
you're doing. It's
Yeah.
really
And
important.
self-awareness and
Yeah.
body awareness. The lady from Chailey Heritage recommends we should have like full length mirrors in our bathrooms for our PMLD kids so they see their whole body. So they learn things like the concept of, that foot belongs to me. I
Yeah, because
control
we
that
never
foot.
do that, do we? They've maybe never seen their
Yeah.
whole self.
Yeah. Yeah. It's thought provoking, isn't it?
Yeah. I love that. That's why I love these podcast chats. I really do selfishly use these for my own training, by the way. So thank you for that.
But again, training is expensive. So things like, I mean, if I if someone was interested in, say, sensory stories, just listen to Pete Wells's podcast. He deconstructs his sensory story. He talks about the props and why he's using them. Um, and he interviews someone from the, special ed world every week. And, you could just learn while you're in the car,
Yeah.
and he's, obviously now there's lots of podcasts to choose from about our field.
Yeah. We're
It's a
so
really
lucky.
simple
And it's all in your
simple and
pocket.
cheap way in, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about courses, I feel like your courses are incredibly affordable. They were live ones for £12, then £40 for the
pre-recorded. Do you want to talk a little bit about what courses you offer? Because I'm sure that people after listening to this will be really interested to learn more about the
Yeah.
subject.
Yeah, that would be really, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so what I did do was when I first set up, I wrote about 8 different courses, like a play one and a sensory one and stuff, and autism one. And then what happened was the schools would phone me and say, "Oh, can you do a mixture of this and this?" So what I tend to do now is bespoke courses. So I can do you a course on anything sort of sensory based, so long as you give me some kind of like remit. I can do a bespoke course, pulling on those 8 courses as well as, other things that I've done over the past few years. So I can travel to anywhere. I've got a little camper van, so I can come to your settings, or we can do stuff over Zoom. So that could be any kind of talk, consultancy, or any talk. So the sensory ideas course has been the one that's been the most booked, sort of how to use the equipment, why to use the equipment. And I would say as well, Joe Grace did a book called Myth Busting Sensory Rooms. And one of the most important things that came out of that was that people want a sensory room, they go buy a sensory room, and they don't have training. They don't think about beforehand how they're going to use it, how they're going to timetable it, who's going to use it, why they're using it. So yeah, I feel really strongly that you should have sensory training before you spend all that money, because sometimes, my man that likes to shake things, once the best thing that we used was just like a £3 torch, because he needs to have it within like 90 centimeters from his eye.
Yeah, I find that we changed our sensory room a lot when I came in because it was very overwhelming. There was sounds, there was movement, there was lights, there was loads of resources. Like the whole room was filled with resources to choose from, and I was like, whoa, 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 2 to 3 things max. Like this isn't chill out. This isn't regulation. This is so overstimulating, and which would
Yeah.
work for some pupils, but it certainly didn't work for the class we had in practice. So
No,
yeah,
what happens then is they just shut down.
yeah,
They
yeah.
just shut down. But I think one of the problems with that is the catalogs, because the catalogs want to sell
Oh, it's
everything. This is what Joe
beautiful.
says. So everything's turned on. Whereas in my room, it says all over my room. And whenever people come, and I have a sensory room at my house, which is where I work. So I've got a
Amazing.
converted garage, which is a sensory room with, bubble tubes and fiber optics and UV and everything. So if someone comes and wants to hire the room, I show them round and I say, just one piece on at a time. And when you finish with that piece, you turn it off and you put something else on. It's really simple to use. It's still just plugs and switches, because that's another issue I have with sensory rooms is senior management think they're wonderful and then the staff don't know how they work.
Yeah, yeah, and then what's the
But
point?
yeah, yeah. So courses wise as well, I've got sensory outdoor ideas, sort of like for working outside or playing outside, sensory walls that I've either seen ideas that have been done or I've invented myself, like a sensory bubble wall, for example. So, the tube ones, you sort of duct tape half a dozen of those to a part of your school fence, and that's for blowing so that the kids have to do some deep breathing. Really, really keen on the whole holistic thing. So, sensory meditation or massage or story massage, I can do talks on, or sensology. The latest one I've just done is dance massage. So I've just written a course on dance massage if anyone wanted to book that. I could do it over Zoom, but it would be much better in person because
Yeah, I
obviously
can
it's very
imagine.
interactive and you've got to join in and you've got to do it.
Yeah, and amazing that you can travel all over the UK. That's just so awesome. I saw some information on, yeah, oh gosh, you've got so many courses on there. I will leave your website down below and people can check it out so that they can, yeah, get planning what courses they would like for their settings.
I
That'd
better
be
find out how it
amazing.
works and maybe update it then.
Yeah, yeah, you've got to October. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining me today. It's been an absolute joy. This topic is so where my heart is at. Gosh, I could talk about senses and meeting PMLD learners where they're at forever. And I'm just so pleased that you're doing what you're doing. And yeah, that it's just making it a little bit easier for all of these mainstream schools that would want to do this stuff, just don't know where to turn. And so thank you so much for giving them somewhere safe that gives very knowledgeable, very wise, and very experienced answers. So thank you.
Thank you very much.